Hello everyone. This is the 18th part of the story, Avatar in DC Universe. Chapter 54, A Subtle Shift, Final Part. General Point of View. Remember, we give him a chance to explain first. The benefit of doubt. I expect all of you, especially you Wally, to not be antagonistic towards Aiden. Calder ordered. The mood at the cave was at an all-time low. Explain? What is there to explain? Calder, we all saw the things he had hidden in his room. As far as I'm concerned, anything that he says will just be an extension to the lies he's been feeding us. Ugh, why can't any of you see it? Aiden is not who he says he is. Wally shouted while waving his hands. And this has nothing to do with your dislike and jealousy? You think we haven't noticed it, but it's clear as day. You don't hate Maelstrom because he's been hiding things from us, you hate him because he's better than you in every possible way. Silence dominated the room. Artemis' words seemed to cut deep into Wally. That's not true. Rob, tell her. Robin looked away. The hurt expression on Wally's face turned to anger. Keep on defending the guy if you want to, but I'm telling it as it is. Aiden is a fucking traitor. Seeing that no one was speaking up to his defense, Wally looked away. A traitor that saved you. You can at least acknowledge that in your mission to discredit him. Wally ignored Connor's response and zeroed in on the whiskey bottle they'd found in Aiden's room. What was it you said you felt from this thing, Calder? He asked while shaking the bottle. Careful with that, Wally. We still don't know what it is. Wally ignored the warning. I remember, you said you felt negative mystic energy emanating from it, right? He got no response. How can we trust someone who hides such stuff in his room? Where did he even get it from? The vial of cobra venom can be explained away, but what about the money? The jewelry? Call it hate or dislike or whatever you want, but deep inside you all know I'm right. He looked at the others. Calder, Dick. This is not us. This is not what we stand for or what we've learned from our mentors. You think Batman or Flash would allow anything like this to exist? Heck, I don't believe in magic, but even I can feel the despair and hate coming off it in waves. If Aiden's intentions were pure, this thing would be locked away in a super vault somewhere secure or destroyed. Not in his room hidden under the bed. Saying that, Wally opened the lid and poured the contents out into the sink before anyone else could stop him. Aiden's point of view. I spared a long final look at the view of the earth from the watchtower, then sighed. I didn't know if I would ever see this magical sight again. If there was one thing I would miss, it was going to be the food and the view. I turned around and walked to the Zeta tube. Recognized Maelstrom B04. The first instance I stepped out into the hall of Mount Justice, I felt a certain vibe grip the whole room. Gathered around the Zeta tube was the team, looking at me with a wide range of emotions. Mgen broke off from the rest and hugged me tightly. I'm sorry, she told me before withdrawing and flying back to the others. Aiden, you're okay. I'm glad, Artemis said before looking away sadly. Great to see you too, Artemis. What is going on though? Some of you don't look too happy with my arrival, I stated, establishing eye contact with Wally. A look of distaste crossed his face. You're wrong. We were of course glad to hear from Batman that you were back and unharmed. Calder stepped forward and spoke up. I scoffed. Batman, huh? That means. And I'm sure he also informed you about my resignation from the team? Yes. Calder nodded. Which is less than you deserve. You should be headed straight for Belle Reve if you ask me. Wally barked. Wait, kid. He deserves to explain himself. Calder shot him down with a glare. I looked at Connor and raised an eyebrow. The clone had no outward reaction and was completely unreadable, so I moved on to our resident detective. Robin was the one acting weird the most. He stepped forward with a determined look on his face. What the fuck is going on? Wally's hostility is understandable seeing as he's always an ignorant immature little brat. Calder held the speedster back while I continued with my statement. But the rest of you. You're all acting strange. So I'll ask again. What is going on? They all shared a look and turned to me. Maybe you can tell us? Boy Wonder sighed, pressing a key on his utility belt to reveal the vial of cobra venom I had stashed in my room as well as a small bag. The jewelry. Which meant they also found the money, the documents, and the meta-trigger I kept in the whiskey bottle. My heart sank. If only I'd been faster to relocate those things to the storage space I'd found from Galil's documents. I just kept putting it off because of my busy schedule. I closed my eyes and promised myself to never be so complacent again. I opened my eyes to try and salvage whatever I could of my things. Where's the rest? I asked no one in particular. Oh, you mean this incriminating big bag of cash? Wally held up the duffel bag containing the money I'd gotten from Lucifer after my fight with Galil. Incriminating? What are you talking about? Do you think I stole it? Calm down, Aiden. Calm down. I reminded myself. No, I don't think you stole it. I know you did. Kid was quick to respond. I just needed to be calm to ask them about the other stuff. You broke into my room without permission. You are even so inconsiderate of the fact that I almost fucking died who knows how many times trying to save all of you that you judged me without giving me the benefit of doubt, or allowing me the chance to come clean all by myself. They all looked down in shame. Even Wally looked unsure, all except for the youngest member. Where did you get all of this, Aiden? Robin's voice cut through the silence. Boy Wonder narrowed his eyes at me and I knew he knew I was trying to guilt-trip them into dropping the subject. I hate to do this. I really do, but they left me no choice. I just need to know where the meta-trigger essence is. It was a gift. I smoothly responded. A gift? Boy Wonder's tone was incredulous. He spared a look at Superboy who shook his head. He's not lying. Artemis heaved out a sigh of relief. See, I told you guys that Aiden had a perfectly good explanation for all of this. Her face was hopeful, but from the whitened knuckles gripping her bow, Artemis did not seem to buy what she was saying. From who? Calder asked. Trust me, you don't want to know. The only thing I can tell you is that he is no way involved with the Supervillains or the Justice League. He's more of a neutral party. I helped him out with something and all that was the payment. Now, where is the last item? Where is the whiskey bottle? Boy Wonder subtly glimpsed at Wally who stubbornly refused to look at me straight in the eyes. Oh no. What the fuck did they do? Where is it? My tone took on a harder edge. Boy Wonder shifted his stance into a wary one and the mood that was already at an all-time low dived off the fucking cliff. No one was saying anything. Mgan, you have something to tell me? So I went for the softest one in the group. The one trying to please everyone so as to get a sense of belonging. It was fucking manipulative and I hated using my meta-knowledge about their characters this way, but if it works, it works. Connor stepped into my line of sight, blocking her from my view. I raised an eyebrow. Should have accounted for that. He's already started showing feelings towards her. The bottle was destroyed. I poured out all the black liquid and smashed it to pieces. The team agreed that it was too evil. Which begs the question of why you had it in the first place. I brought a hand to my forehead and pinched the space between my eyes. This was bad. My anger was getting the better of me. I'd stuck it out with these people for the last few months or so, thinking I was building a camaraderie with them. Then they go and do this. My face turned ugly. I'd come here expecting a tearful farewell. Seems like I'll get it, but not the way I wanted. What gave you the right? Do you even comprehend what you have done? Calm down, Aiden. Your secrets. I cut off Calder harshly. My secrets. You think I'm the only one with secrets in this fucking place? Holy shit, I can't believe the naivety and immaturity I've been a part of for the last few months. Have none of you not learned to never judge a book by its cover? I thought you all trusted me to at least not go behind my back. I looked at Artemis while saying that. Tears started dropping down her cheeks. Shut it, Calder. I've heard enough. You forced me to do this. Knowing you, asking nicely for my property won't work. The air lifted me up to hover above them all. So as I tender my resignation, for old time's sake, I'll give you one warning. Step aside from my shit or I will hurt you. Chapter 55, Outnumbered but not outmatched. General point of view. I won't say it again, Calder. I held out a hand and a miniature tornado formed around in my palm. Don't make me do it the hard way. Calder's water bearers appeared in his hands. I believe we outnumber you 6-1. You're the one who needs to stand down, Maelstrom. His tone was serious and his stance showed no signs of backing down. Outnumbered, yes, but you're outmatched. I told them while increasing the intensity of the whirlwind. The others were on edge, ready to react or in some cases like Wally, act. The only three who looked unsure were Connor, Artemis and Mgan. The blonde who I knew had a crush on me decided to be the voice of reason. Wait. Everybody please calm down. Can we just talk this out? She implored while looking around. Tell that to your boyfriend. He's the one threatening the rest of us. Wally responded, dropping the goggles resting on his forehead to his eyes. He's not my boyfriend. Don't bother Artemis. One way or the other, I'm getting what I want. It doesn't matter if I have to go through all of you for that. I'm done with this bullshit. I got why she was trying to appease everyone, but bridges were already burned. This had been brewing for quite some time. The peaceful and mature way wasn't going to work out anymore. Not for me at least. Aiden. You're not acting like yourself. This isn't you. I cocked my head to the side. Did she really just say that? Would you blame me? I just got from a meeting with the Justice League, where they suspended me from the team for no concrete reason other than disappearing to God knows where for 10 hours. After saving all your collective asses, by the way, and the first thing I get from all of you is another fucking trial. So yes, Artemis, I am not acting like myself. This is how I get when someone stabs me on the back. Where I come from, loyalty matters. I waved a hand and sent a wind ruffling through their clothes. This talk is getting boring. And you're out of warnings. I made to move forwards for the bag in Wally's hands when I felt an impact on my mental walls. The intrusive touch bounced off and then returned even stronger. A crack appeared on its structure and I felt a mental link form. Please, Aiden. Stop this. Fighting will get us nowhere. Get out of my head, Mgan. I'll forget that you just forced your way through my mental barriers. We're like a family. Families don't fight. I said get out of my head. I shot back in anger. The Martian's face paled in real life and she stumbled back once I pushed out my own mental energy. A wind blast knocked her to the wall, completely cutting off her next words. Mgan. Connor shouted out her name in panic. Everyone gasped at the unexpected move. Good, this will show them I'm not playing anymore. I'm fine, I'm alright, just, everyone please stop. Miss Martian floated back up, but Connor was already too far gone to listen. You bastard. You took it too far. Saying that, Connor jumped up to attack me. A sudden whirlwind manifested and pulled him into its spinning motion. I waved a hand and the Superman clone was thrown back towards the ground. With that, I knew the time for talking was over. General point of view. Calder felt a shiver run across his skin in a way he had only once felt before. Captain Marvel. That's who Aiden reminded him of. The sheer difference in power was shocking as it was terrifying. Last time any of them checked, Aiden was the third strongest, but even that was debatable due to the experience Calder, Robin, and Kid Flash had over him. Standing before him, however, Calder realized something. Experience didn't matter for shit if your opponent had overwhelming power on his side. Which meant Robin, KF Manuever 0. Calder ordered just as Superboy roared and jumped at Aiden. Fuck that. We can take him on Calder. Superboy dug a groove on the cave's floor with his body right after Kid Flash's words. Yeah, Rob. Manuever 0. Kid Flash suddenly changed his mind after witnessing their heavy hitter get taken down with only one move. What's Manuever 0? Artemis asked, but no one answered her. Robin reached into his utility belt and came out with smoke bombs that he smashed onto the ground before Aiden. Kid Flash blitzed through the area, running around and forming a tornado made of the smoke bombs below Aiden. Aiden curiously looked on in disbelief as the tornado covered him. Didn't they know what his powers were? He reached out to the whirlwind and unraveled it, flying down to the floor. That was the lamest attack sequence I have ever seen. I looked at the three most experienced sidekicks and commented on their efforts. I thought you would say that. Robin smiled. I wouldn't look down at us though. Else you might find yourself in a sticky situation. Wait. I studied my clothes and not a second later, a few balls I hadn't noticed attached to me exploded, covering me completely in containment foam that hardened within seconds. Only my head was left visible. You used the tornado to lower my guard and then threw the containment foam balls at me. Well played, Boy Wonder. I should have expected something like this. Move. Connor's aggressive words announced he was back into the fray. With a hand cocked back, his fist was headed directly for my head. I can't get knocked out. It's time to show them what true power actually is. I searched for that familiar heat lying at the bottom of my belly and pulled. My mouth opened and I let loose a huge flame breath that melted the containment foam down into a magma-like liquid slag. My fist came up just in time to intercept Connor's own. A blast of force escaped out into the surroundings, pushing us both back. I controlled the air present at his back and pulled him towards me. My fist tightened while I deployed the first use of Dragon Fist since getting it from the advancement trial. The snarl on his face disappeared once my strikes landed on his body. Dull thuds escaped the strike zone while my blows landed. Connor's eyes rolled back to the back of his eyes as he went unconscious. I grabbed his body by the neck and threw him at an unsuspecting Calder, who was so shocked that he failed to react on time. The Atlantean was pulled from his feet upon contact with the Kryptonian and they both slammed through the holographic projector above the hull. The device sparked dangerously, while parts of it fell to the floor. An arrow was intercepted by the air bubble I kept around my body, redirected and shot towards a blitzing Kid Flash. The resulting explosion slammed KF off his feet into a tangle of his limbs, which resulted in him groaning on the floor and then passing out. Kid! Artemis called out in panic after her attack. Ouch, Artemis. Always pegged you for a femme fatale, but damn. My words turned her attention back to the fight and she pulled back the string on her bow while notching another arrow. I won't miss a second time, she warned. An invisible air construct rope suddenly wrenched her hands back, constricting her body in a tight hold. Not enough to hurt her, but enough that she was out of the fight. She tried to shimmy her way out, but my control over the element was Grandmaster level now. I don't want to hurt you. So stay down, Artemis. The wind bindings holding her captive were suddenly undone by a telekinetic force, ripping through them. Gan. I sighed. She was hiding. Invisible to my normal senses, but not the telepathic sense I was slowly but surely developing. I found her near the wall where Calder and Connor had fell after slamming into each other. The two teens were knocked out. One of them due to Dragon Fist while the other due to colliding with a Kryptonian going at max speed. I reapplied the bindings on Artemis and shot out towards the Martian, dodging pieces of stone that had broken off from the walls easily. Normally fighting Gan would be a headache due to her numerous abilities like density shifting, shape-shifting, telekinesis etc., but I had an effective skill to take her down apart from fire. I got within range of her and released a sonic blast point blank at her body. Mgen cried out in pain, and once she was incapacitated, I used Dragon Fist to send shockwaves inside her body, making her pass out. This skill was incredibly useful. I also used it on Artemis. I didn't want her slipping away and contacting someone. This fight was so boring. Now that I wasn't playing at their level anymore, it felt more like a chore I was doing. With most of the team down, Wally included, due to the friendly fire that left only Robin. Birdarangs shot through the air and dug themselves around me. The explosion did nothing to my air bubble. I blew the dust away while on the lookout for more of Boy Wonder's tricks. His signature laugh sounded out and I noticed he'd disappeared off to somewhere. With the duffel bag. Goddamit. This game of cat and mouse needed to end, or else a leaguer might arrive if he's allowed to make a distress call. I slammed my leg down and a shockwave exploded out into the surroundings, not enough to hurt anyone but enough that I could detect where the young detective was hiding. I found him on the side of the hologram projector. How did he even get there? No time. An air bubble appeared around his head, cutting off his air supply. Boy Wonder tried to use a rebreather, but his hand bounced off the rotating wind sphere and a few minutes later his body fell from above. I used the wind to slow the descent of his body along with the duffel bag. I slowly sent Robin's body to the ground and turned to inspect the duffel bag. Galil's documents were inside with the cash, and now more than ever, I needed his contacts. I pulled back the zip and opened the bag. Instantly my heart sank. Above the money and the documents was Robin's exploding birdarangs. Oh, you little sure. The birdarangs timed out and exploded, destroying the contents of the bag. My air shield kept me safe, but the explosion left behind burning papers that I couldn't even salvage. I looked at Robin and decided that if he was going to be petty, then I would be petty too. He wasn't getting out of this without a broken finger at least. Recognized Red Arrow B06. Oh fuck me. This guy? Seriously? Chapter 56, It Gets Worse. Aiden's point of view. I would probably say this is not what it looks like, but it's exactly what it looks like. So what's your opening move? An arrow was what I got for my trouble. Oh wait, the arrow split into two. Neat trick. Two arrows with a net in the middle which had sparks of electric current running through its whole length. A finger flick and a wind blade slashed the net apart. I stepped forward in a quick burst and buried a fist on Red Arrow's stomach. Breath escaped his mouth along with spit. He clutched his belly and hacked out with wide eyes, taking a knee. Where's all that bravado you had? The arrogance you wear while walking around. Hate to break it to you, Speedy, but to those who are actually strong, pride comes easy. It's casual and displayed by actions, not by seeing who can bark the loudest. The hateful glare he sent my way made me chuckle a little. But you will never learn that, will you? I backhanded him and he slumped to the ground in a faint. It was time to leave. I went towards Boy Wonder and pocketed the vial of cobra venom along with the small bag holding the jewelry. I was still very much angry at losing the meta trigger, the cash, and Galil's documents. That whole debacle was on me. On my complacent attitude. I had to understand that this wasn't like my previous world. I can only thank God that this lesson came this early. Although it came with a big cost, it was still better than potentially losing my life by taking things easy. Fuck, where will I get another meta-trigger essence? That thing had enabled Galil to create metahumans by targeting the ones with a metagene present in their bodies. Then again, the presence of people like Black Canary showed there was more than one way to awaken it. I didn't know if I had a metagene or not, but after tensions within the group I'd realized that having my own team, one of my very making, would be advantageous in the long run as opposed to using the meta trigger on myself. I already had a clear path to power. Adding more abilities upon the ones I was slated to get would be splitting my attention too much. A jack of all trades. I wanted to be a grandmaster at only two things: bending and combat prowess. Luckily the cobra venom vial was still intact. If I could perfect it or find someone to do it, I could streamline the process into something efficient and harmless. If I remember correctly, Slade Wilson in DC had used Murakuru, DC's version of the super soldier serum, to give himself enhanced physical parameters which, coupled with his deadly skills, made him the perfect merc. If I could get a sample of his blood. I shook my head. This isn't the time to get sidetracked. Before I could do any of that, I needed Galil's contacts to the underworld. That would help me to set myself up in a way that the League or the team wouldn't track me. I looked around at my fallen ex-comrades and sighed. This is not how I wanted this to go down. Going over to Kid Flash, I kicked him on the nuts. He groaned in pain, which appeased my anger a little. This was mostly all his fault. While Robin's suspicions were warranted, he wasn't led by jealousy or hate. We all know who probably fanned the flames. I can't believe you used to be top 5 of my favorite speedsters. I huffed and sped off towards my room to gather the rest of my things. I couldn't leave my laptop, but the guitar and other stuff would only slow me down. So the plan? I was going to use the Zeta tube and go to LA, specifically Lux. Lucifer's nightclub. Oh goody. But you might wonder why. Why go towards the devil while others would be running far away to the opposite direction? Here's the thing. I'm 100% sure that Galil, being the devious demon, would have kept a digital copy of all his connections and information in case the place was ever raided. It makes perfect sense. Being millennia old, who knew how much secrets, dirt and information he had? Storing all that info in physical formats was inefficient and dumb. So Lucifer was my only lead. The plan B to that would be to go to Gotham, try and find Penguin's hideout. He hadn't been seen for quite a while after the whole enhanced cocaine thing, and then strike up a deal with him, or if that fails, Two-Face if he was around. Those were the two villains I knew who had a semblance of honor. They were of course selfish and untrustworthy. Unreliable in Two-Face's case, and both wouldn't hesitate to betray me if they were offered a better deal. The reason that was plan B was because Gotham was Batman's backyard. So yeah, not sure the Dark Knight would appreciate what I'd done here. Though I'm not sure he would make a big deal out of it, seeing as this was in line with what he and Manhunter had propo. Access denied. Access denied. Zeta tube privileges revoked. Designation downgraded to Maelstrom A03. The computer alerted me, displaying a red text box on its screen. My mood plummeted. I was trying to use the Zeta tube to take me to the nearest Zeta node in L.A, but it seems that I was already locked out from the system. Gee, I wonder who could have done it. Read Batman, speaking of the devil. Recognized Batman 02. Wonder Woman 03. Flash 04. Martian Manhunter 07. Black Canary 14. Oh shit. This couldn't get any worse. Recognized Superman 01. Would you look at that? It just did. General point of view. One of our drone outposts reported a massive beacon of energy wave in the outskirts of the Milky Way galaxy. An agent of the Reach informed the scientist charged with study of the alien species in the sector. The scientists turned to the agent, a low-level assistant charged with monitoring the sector for any anomalies. And this concerns us why? The scientist asked impatiently. The assistant looked nervous and hurried to explain. The energy signature bears resemblance with apocalyptian technology. The Reach scientist hummed in interest. Truly? That is quite curious. Have you pinpointed the correct location? I have traced the signature to a star system which has 8 recognized planets revolving around a small star. 2 of those planets are occupied with intelligent alien life. The scientist pulled up the files on the subject to the computer screen and hummed. This complicates things. The sector is under the Green Lantern Corp jurisdiction. A fully equipped Herald ship would be breaking the terms of the treaty. We have an infiltrator scarab on the 4th planet from the Sun. Maybe we can utilize his unique position. The scientist shook his head. Negative. That would put him at risk of being discovered by other parties. This matter requires a delicate touch. The assistant obediently kept silent as the scientist thought. Send a request to High Command for the possibility of a scout ship excursion to do a loose search on the star system. We will feed the Lantern Corps should they ask about it being a resource hunt or a ship with a warp malfunction stumbling into the sector. That should keep them off our backs until we can decide what to do next. Will they buy that? The assistant decided to ask. The question brought a smile onto the scientist's face. They don't have to. The peace treaty outlines that we don't subjugate or conquer an alien species without their own consent. That's why we use diplomacy as our main weapon. As long as we don't touch down on the planet or get noticed, then it should be fine. Plus we do have contingencies in case we leave traces of our presence behind. The assistant nodded his head and left. Wait. The scientist called out. Phase shift the drone outpost for the time being. If we detected the massive surge of energy, it stands to reason others did as well. We're not the only ones on the lookout for new god technology. Aiden's point of view. The light from the Zeta tube died out, revealing some of the most powerful members the Justice League had. Silence dominated the room as they looked around. Batman surveyed the scene in one brief sweep and turned his eyes, narrowed, at me. What did you do? Following his words, the flash blitzed off in a fast speed, making me spring up to float above the ground with my heart pumping. I couldn't even make out his form clearly. There wasn't comparing him and Wally. One was a snail, the other a jet. Fortunately, he didn't attack. He merely gathered the team one by one near the Zeta tube. Away from me, I realized. In case a fight sprung up. Black Canary stepped forward with her hands raised. The rest of the members looked shocked and surprised. Some of them, like Batman and Wonder Woman, were studying me with anger and seriousness respectively. Aiden, what happened here? Black Canary started off low, but I could feel the undercurrents of worry. Worry for me, I guessed. If I wasn't so done with everything, I would have felt gratitude at her understanding. As I was, my heart merely waved off the feeling of discomfort at the thought of disappointing one of my mentors. They are fine. Banged up, but they will survive. All of them are merely unconscious. Manhunter informed the rest. They still need a checkup. Get them to the medical facility of the watchtower. Batman ordered without looking away from me. We will handle things here, Manhunter. As you wish. Manhunter replied. He threw a glance at me and I got the brief sensation of a touch on my mental barriers. Regret. I am sorry, Aiden. I didn't bother replying. What was done was done. This wasn't something I could take back. The team and I had come to blows and I'd put them all down. The only question that remained was, could I do the same to their mentors? I knew the answer deep in my chest. And it was a resounding no. Still. If I wanted to get out of this situation, it was either go through them or go through them. There was nowhere to escape. Recognized Martian Manhunter 07. Once John left, the Man of Steel flew to hover in the air opposite me. Superman had a hard look on his face that I'd only ever seen once before. Son, I'm going to need you to stand down. I sighed and firmed up my resolve. There was no way to win this, but fuck it. Number. This marks the end of part 18 of the story, Avatar in DC Universe. Thank you for listening. Please like the video and hit the subscribe button to listen more. Hit the bell icon to get notified of all the new content uploaded to the channel ASAP.